Because they're going, okay, now it's live.
We're live. Hello, everyone.
Woohoo!
My name is Lafaya Mitchell, licensed marriage and family therapist, and I'm here with Christina Giles Washington. A very,
Hello!
I'm not sure what that was. That was a good sound effect, though. But we have our mom here, ready to head off to go to a basketball game for her son. Now sports are opening back up. One of the many things that we have going along with all this COVID, stay at home, not stay at home, have hybrid, have sports, whatever we have going on right now. But that's what we're here to discuss. We're here to discuss all of the craziness that we're all experiencing right now, parents or not, when it comes to this COVID stuff. But today we're focusing in on that COVID piece. Now,
Yeah,
Miss Christina,
yes.
I'd like for you to share a little bit about what some of your experiences have been during these COVID times. And we could just start from last year when we thought it was going to be 3 weeks.
Oh, okay. So last time this year, when we thought it was only going to be 3 weeks or 2 months, um, it was fun at that point last year because it was my son is a senior, my daughter's a freshman. So it was kind of like, oh, I get to have my son here with me and my daughter and all of that. And then it went on. And my daughter, being that she was a freshman, did not do well, did not do well at all. Because here she's coming from the eighth grade, going into the ninth grade, new school, bigger school, and all of that, and no school. She didn't have an opportunity to do anything. Literally, it was actually, she was in the eighth grade and they were in school for 2 weeks. And then COVID hit. That's what happened. So
Right.
during the COVID time, she went into high school. And again, I thought, okay, this is going to be great. We'll get over it. So when summer came, it's just nice to do things at home and whatnot. But then the school semester started. My son as a senior, my daughter as a freshman, and it was pandemonium. It was not at all anything that we expected because, of course, we were still home. Who wants to be home? So,
Right.
as a parent, it sucked. It started to suck more because I'm not a what I'm not a stay-at-home mom per se, but I'm a stay-at-home mom, if that makes sense. I don't know how to say that. I'm not a stay-at-home mom, but I am a stay-at-home mom, meaning I've
Uh-huh.
always had the opportunity to work from home, and I enjoyed that. But I never did the things that a stay-at-home mom does, meaning all the structure. Absolutely not. That was absolutely ridiculous. The structure for me was terrible because I had to be the parent, the friend, and the teacher. And it was
Mm.
just absolutely, it was just too much for me. And I felt like a failure all the time. And I didn't like it. I know a lot of parents didn't like it, but I absolutely did not like it at all. So here we are now, and I'm going, oh my God, please go back to school. But now there's a whole new set of issues because now everybody's afraid to go back to school. Because
Right.
still, for my daughter in particular, it's still, I don't know anybody. What am I going to do? And I'm like, make friends. So now we're dealing with the social aspect. I don't even know how to make friends. It's
Oh man.
crazy.
I'm gonna say that with my experience with my kids were my son at the time when COVID hit, he was a senior. And so this
Mhm.
was his last year, senior year, all excited for things like he was actually going to go to his prom. Now, if you know my son, that's a humongous deal because my kid does not go out. Like he's more of a cave dweller. He likes it in his cave. He never went to like do I know boys don't do a lot of sleepovers, but he never did that thing. He never went over to friends' house. That was not my kid. And so
Yeah.
when he said he was going to the prom, I was super excited. He's like, Mom, you have to go get me a tuxedo and blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, I'm so excited to get you a tuxedo, whatever it is you want, right? And then all of a sudden, just we started to hear this weird news about this thing that was out that was like actually killing people. And we were like, what the heck is this? And then when they were saying 3 weeks, I was like, oh, thank goodness. Okay, they just figure it out real fast, and because we've never had this happen in our lives, and but then here we go. We roll right on into this to the end of the school year. My son is, he did actually get to take pictures before all this happened, so that's good. But everything else was weird. It was like
Yeah.
we did a drive-through graduation ceremony. It was very strange. I was like, what is going? I was like, oh my goodness. So I don't know. So the other parents out there watching, I don't know if you had some of the same experiences, but I was devastated for my son. Now my son
Yeah.
was excited. He was like, ooh, I don't have to go nowhere. I can just stay in my room. He's the happiest kid in the world. Now the funny part is they're still happy. Like my two kids, I'm the one that's traumatized. Like they
Yeah.
they love being in their cave. So in that way, I think I was lucky. And like for my daughter, she was 16 no, she's 16. She was 15 at the time, going to be 16 in the summer. She's in her junior year this year. So last year she was a sophomore, and she was ecstatic. She's like, "Oh, we don't have to go to school." She was excited. She's still getting her straight A's, no problems, no problems. Then we get into this school
Mm.
year in the fall, and it became very different. She's like, "Oh, I have to do this, and this teacher is making me be on camera when I don't like to be right." And so we have all these things. I hate this class and I hate that class, and I'm like, man, we didn't have too much of that before last year, right? And then she even got a couple of B's, which I know people out there don't like to hear that. I was traumatized because my baby gets straight A's. And so, but at first I was bragging. I was like, oh yeah, she's still getting her A's and blah blah. Not anymore. And now we're at a point where she's like, Mom, I would go back to school so I can see my friends, but I'm scared because people are stupid out there. Like, I don't know if people are gonna wear their masks. I don't know what's going on out there. I keep seeing people without masks. And she was like, now I'd rather stay home and do distance learning, even though, I don't like it.
But I think that that's the biggest thing because it's impacted my daughter as well. My son, he's like your son. Who cares? They gave him the option, and he's a senior, so he absolutely doesn't care about anything. They gave him the option to come back. He was like, I'm not, thank you, but no. My daughter, on the other hand, oh my goodness, just like you said, impacted her grades to the point it impacted her mental health. I know that we don't always want to, it's all over the news, the mental health aspects and all that, but I don't know if you could tell by my paint job, I'm a Black woman and we don't always do my baby's struggling mentally. Most of the times we're trying to figure out, oh, walk it off, pray, do all these other things. Nah, my baby was going through some trauma, and it was causing her to lose her confidence. It was causing her to it was causing her to have a lot more stresses than she was prepared for. Not only are you having the hormonal changes of being a 15-year-old, but you're also having, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Where are my friends? I can't get to them. So you're isolated. And my daughter and I kind of share the same DNA to a fault. Now, people, I know you're saying, well, you're her mom. You should share DNA. But I mean, we're almost the same person. So when she started going into her shutdown or whatever, it made me go there too. So I wasn't the best person to help her because I would get frustrated with her. Like, come on, we're going to do this together, which meant I started kind of doing her work. Okay. Because to me, it's like, I want to get the grades because, we're at home. We need to be doing this. It was just a cluster completely. And the more you listen to different TV shows or whatever, the more you realized it wasn't just her. It was happening to a lot of young girls. They said were struggling a little bit more. But as a parent, you're kind of going, when is cocktail hour? Because is it at 9 in the morning or is it at 10 in the morning? Because it became a vicious cycle. Now, thank God, I didn't take it out in a way like that. I didn't drink or anything like that, but I did lean in on doing their work. I mean, I became a high schooler all over again, and I was doing my son's papers and all of that because I knew my weakness, my weak area is actually doing that hardcore structure. At 10 o'clock, we're going to do this. At 11 o'clock, oh my God, I
Oh,
am
so
terrible.
so so do me a favor, talk to me a little bit about were you actually able, because many parents are were saying that they were just really not able to get into creating a schedule because there's that's not a part of our normal lives. Like our schedule is to drop the kids off, or at least make sure they get there, right? Drop them off at school, leave them there for their perfectly structured day, and then have them come home. And then maybe we actually, no, we really didn't really have structure then either. I mean, if you're a real, I shouldn't say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. Real families, and okay, so you guys excuse me for those of you out there who are super organized and you have dinner at the same time every night and bedtime at the same time every night and you have your stuff down like that. This part is not for you. So you can close your ears. But for the other ones out there, that this is not typical, that there was no need to introduce so
Yeah.
much structure because structure was already introduced into our days through our jobs and our kids through school, that now we have to figure out how to set up a day so that our kids can be successful, so they can get into their classes for a shorter period of time than they had school for, by the way. And then we have to figure out what time they should be doing their work, that they have to figure out all of the work that they need through by way of 5 million emails they're getting from their teachers every day. and I and if you were that parent that whose email address was connected to your kids, email account with the teachers, then you understand their pain, because I understand my daughter's pain uniquely. I feel so bad for her because I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so many emails. This would drive me crazy. I don't know how she's able to like distinguish what's what in this. But
So when you say tell you about that, for those of you that went down the perfect parenting rabbit hole, I would like to invite you on the other side because while I have a calendar, I still use old school calendars. I write it all down. My daughter wrote down in my calendar all of her tests and all of that. Now, if your children do what my children do, which is their schedule is on Canva or Power School or whatever, that means that it's online. So my question to education is, you mean to tell me I'm supposed to go online and check my kid's schedule and receive all the emails, plus the emails that I receive from all my personal clients, plus decipher how to do new math? Like, you want me to do new math? This is some BS. Oh,
right.
and by the way, there's a new planet. Now, I heard that Pluto was no longer a planet, it was a star, but allegedly there's a new planet. So I am not the kind of parent who just, oh, I'll take you at your word. No, I want to go study it. So I'm up at night trying to do papers for these two, and the structure was just ridiculous. So you did comment on having a shorter day. Yes, 4 hours versus their normal 6 hour day
For the
because they
kids.
stripped out, right? Because they stripped out all the, nutrition and all that crap. All right, that's great. My kids went to a 4 day week. So 4 hours, 4 days. You would think that that would be beneficial to us from the perspective of, okay, class starts at 8:30 or whatnot. Now, I would love to see some comments come in because The 8:30 bell would ring, alleged, and my son would be in bed. And I'm going, it's 8:30. Why are you in bed? Oh, because we're just watching a movie. Who watches a movie in Zoom school? That
Right.
is so stupid. And I was like, what teacher in their right mind wouldn't make the accommodation to say, we're not going to do movies in Zoom school because the kids will be asleep?
Right.
That was
And
one.
and that's all they're doing is looking at screens all the time. So now we're all of a sudden we're introducing movies that they could be watching the movie that they really want to watch during this time. Now talking about a kid being asleep or in bed I'm looking at my kid bought a whole new desk. We were trying to figure it out. Bought a whole new desk and a whole area. This child put her TV on top of the desk, so now the desk became like her new TV stand. Oh, it has perfect drawers for this. I was like, girl, I was like, look, I gave you the desk so that you can sit at it during school so that I can stop walking in your room and you're asleep during your class,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of times they
Mm-hmm.
didn't have to be on camera. I was like, oh my goodness, it kind of got to a place in space where I was like, okay, Lafaya, pick and choose, pick and choose. If
Yeah.
she's still getting good grades, then
Yeah.
mostly leave the girl alone
Yeah.
because at this point she's doing school from her literal bedroom. So
I mean,
with
from
a
the
bed,
bed. From the
with a
bed.
bed in it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And
because I
so
mean, if you're doing the iPad thing, but see, from the title is the Parent Trap, right? For me, we get twisted into this Parent Trap because this COVID situation, while we will have vaccines and all that great stuff, fantastic. What it did was it exposed us to the fact that, hey, the kids can have hybrid learning. Hey, we can do, because here in Los Angeles we used to have overcrowded schools, so we had year-round school. So you would be on a track and off a track, on a track and off a track. And I'm almost positive that they're probably going to be toying with something like that based on the COVID situation, because if all these new strings come out, or strains, or whatever they are called, now that we know that some kids function highly online, whereas some do not, I am almost positive that this style of learning is going to be around for a long time. And as a parent, if you are the type of parent that I am, I don't really want to learn how to become structured. I don't. I am not interested in it in the least. I like pulling up and they get in the car. And if we want to go run some errands, we go run. So I do not want to have a dedicated, oh, from this to this, we have to. No. I mean, I pay taxes. I'm a homeowner. I do things like that so that my kids can go to the local school and you handle that.
I, you know what? There were a lot of upset parents out there that were like, how did it turn out that I am now my child's teacher? Like, can we get some of the cut of that pay now? Because we're doing a majority of the work at this point. It
Well,
was
it's funny. No, go ahead.
no, it's hilarious. I am so I'm so I'm floored by the situation that we've been placed in. But I'm also now I'm thinking, okay, so now we have to kind of get into like our now what, because it's like we've kind of been sort of on pause because everybody's been kind of waiting, like waiting for COVID to go away. So we had that first 3 weeks we were waiting, and then they were like, oh no, it'll just be another 30 days. Okay, so then we're waiting for that, and then we're all like in shock, like, am I really going to spend my summer like this? Right? I don't know about the rest of you out there, but I was in shock. Like, is this so? What is summer going to look like? Do we get to like we don't get to go camping? We don't get to do anything. We just here, right? That's not fun, right? And so, but then we go through that. So then everybody started talking about, oh yes, I can't wait until 2020 is over with. No more COVID. I don't know where that came from, but no more COVID. We'll be done with it all. This tick over into the new year is going to be all the difference in what we need. And when that did not happen, as it logically did not, when that did not happen, then all of a sudden there was an uprising of violent acts out there. There were uprising of suicide, uprisings of just a bunch of different things happening. Well, of course, during COVID, the COVID year, we had all kinds of craziness too. That's what I'm saying. But the mental health piece became a huge piece when that new year came, because I think everybody was holding on. That was like their hope right there is, man, if we could just get through 2020. And then, when they found out that that was leaking over into 2021, people just about started losing it.
Well, I think that a lot of anticipation was of going back to normal. So whenever we say back to something, we're trying to go back to the familiar. We're trying to go back to whatever was serving us at that time. And realistically, it forced everyone to take a quantum leap. And a lot of people weren't ready. I am ready for the new normal, whatever that would be. But I am clear on, as a parent, I'm not interested in being the teacher.
Right.
So when 2021 came and you identified what you just shared right now, people having more pressure, more violence and this and the other, they've been saying that it is a worldwide mental health crisis.
Yep.
So if the whole world is in a mental health crisis, help me understand, what are we going back to? Because we've all lost our minds. Literally, we have all lost our minds. So I'm kind of in the parental parameter of, I want to move forward. I want to take what we've learned and say, hey, you know what? Since we do have the ability for everybody, not everybody, but the people who can, to do online schooling, maybe, just maybe, we can catch up on this. So maybe we can do summer school where, we can catch up, because I know my daughter's behind, and she's not behind because she became overnight, unintelligent, or her smarts went down. It's she hated what she was doing. She couldn't stand it. And
Right.
she was rebellious from the perspective of, I am not going to do that homework. So then again, here we go, falling in the parent trap, my crazy self. Well, if you're not going to do it, or you're not going to get a bad grade because you didn't even try. So here I go trying to do her homework. Okay. That is not a good way to move in the world. I understand. But I think that a few parents might be able to identify with me on that, because we don't want our children to feel as though they're falling behind due to nothing that they could have planned for, right? So here's where the trick bag opens up, and all of us parents fell directly into it, where we're trying our best to schedule, even getting tutors or whatever it is. But I have to say this, what about me? I don't want to be selfish, but what about me as a parent? I think I need a little booster shot too. Like, I need a little mental clear out, because this was some BS. It was some
Okay.
total BS.
Okay. So let's talk about that a little bit, because that's one of the reasons that we are coming out and really coming to share with parents at this point. Because truly, first, I want to be in agreement. Yes, this is a lot of this. It's a lot. Okay, there's a lot we have going on in this world right now. But some of the things that parents are going to have to come to terms with are that structure is king right now. That once we start to create structure, then we will ourselves as parents have more breaks as we're supposed to. We'll have our kids better organized and knowing what time what happens, like they get at school. So we have to give them a little bit of that now, you know. And we also get to organize though fun time for ourselves, guilt free. See,
That is
because
a job,
the, the
Lafaya.
the one thing that we miss is the fact that because we're at home now, we think, we're always on vacation. Like it's weird because it feels like I think you said a forever summer.
Yeah.
When we talked about it before, you called it a forever summer. I was like, that is so right. It's like being on forever vacation. So then when you think about taking time off, what does that mean now? Because you can't do it from home because now home is work and school, right? And so now it becomes important to recognize that in this land of new normal, that now our time off really does require us stepping outside of the home or creating something new, in the home. Like for example, I actually started to work on building, and this is not fancy, y'all. This is me figuring it out piece by piece, but building a gazebo in my backyard just so I could step out of my house, even though it's out of my back door. When I walked into that little tiny spot with my little, my little Zen, little waterfall, and all that kind of off wayward, wayfair, whatever, once I walked in that spot, I was like, oh my goodness, it actually feels different in here. Thank
Hmm.
goodness. Because if you don't do that, then what ends up happening is what I'm sure a lot of parents experience, which is that like that Groundhog's Day
Hmm.
effect. And
Hmm.
many, many people were saying that. They're like, life is what is people started to contemplate what is life? How is this all worth it? Because
Yeah.
because we're going and we're not recognizing that we're just losing our minds because it feels like every day is the same.
So when I said that we lost our minds, I was not kidding.
No.
To your point, though, you know, we're very fortunate, at least because we live in Southern California. So our outside is still relatively warm. It's relatively, element free, all of that kind of stuff. So I do feel some kind of way for the parents that had to endure this in the seasons. I feel very bad for those Texas folk, I mean, Houston, Mississippi, where my folks are from. I feel bad for them. But as a parent community and all of us showing up together, to say, hey, how are we going to move into 2021 and do it in a way that's going to be amazing? First and foremost, we have to come to the what you always say, the real truth of the matter, which is this is going to be around for a while. This is not just going to be over as soon as all the vaccines happen in 2021. So let's just be clear there. We are a first world nation, and they're saying that as a first world nation, that third world nations and whatnot might not have the vaccine. So if you're a traveler like myself, I mean, I know a lot of people are going to Cancun, and I wanted to jump on that $79 one way as well with my kids because we're on Zoom school. But I am not willing to risk my life to go get in some $79 Cancun tickets. That's number one. Number two, the real truth of the matter is my daughter is a freshman. She is going to be the class of 2024-25, right? Okay. The way that the stats are stacking up is they're suggesting that 2023 is when we should be finding ourselves back in a quote normal. So I, as a parent who's not a heavy drinker, am really trying to decide now what I want to start drinking because
Well, you know what? And one of the pieces when we were speaking to the parent trap piece, one of the pieces that we didn't really get a chance to get into because we talked about school and all of that. When we're talking about the parent trap, I'm talking about the feeling of almost being in prison a little bit.
I
Okay, because
know.
we are literally stuck at home with
Yeah.
people that we don't normally have to spend that much time with. So now here we are. All of our relationships have become different now in our own homes. So now we're looking at our spouses like, I never wanted to see you this much. And you're looking at your kids like, I never knew I could not like you so much right now, right? I love you so much. but I
Yeah.
don't like you,
Right.
right? And it's
Right.
so crazy. But now, just before we get ready to close, because we're gonna be keeping this, trying to keep it time friendly for our mom who needs to get to the basketball game, of course, and for me too. Should I need to take off my shoes? But anyway, keep it time friendly. Um, just thinking about spending time with family and relating to others brings to mind, of course, the Lafaya way, where we get into talking about that advanced relational approach to others. Right now, it's more important than ever because everybody's hypersensitive now. So at first, yeah, we can point out and say, okay, yeah, kids on the autism spectrum, ADHD, ODD, all those different things we can point toward and say, okay, yes, these are very sensitive kids. They are they're super emotional. They're super charged up by other people's emotions. It's like it fuels theirs. We say all that, but now that's happening for everybody because we're all what I call emotion soakers in some way, shape, or form. Now, there are
Mhm.
those who may sponge up the emotions of other people and, just a little bit, right? They hardly take anything in and just as, you push everything else out. There's others that taking in everything coming from everybody else. But right now, in this case, we're having so much exposure, so much close exposure to all the people who are closest to us too, because at least we had the separation and we were around people we didn't care about all day. I mean, you care about people at work, but not like the people you do at home, right? And the people who you care about the most are the ones who upset you the most, who bring out the most emotion in you. And so when you're starting to think about how to deal with that, how to deal with situations, how to deal with relationships, then you have to learn how to work on the 4 core steps of the Lafayette way. If you don't, then you will be going real crazy in your house and wonder why. And so, if you want to learn more about the Lafayette way, then of course visit lafayetteWay.com, or I invite you to check out my YouTube channel at youtube.com/C, that's the letter C, /Lafayette way. And it gives you lots of tips and tricks on how to say what and all that kind of stuff. But I'll do a quick and dirty for the 4 core. And the 4 core, she's smiling because she knows what they are. And I think she hates them sometimes. I'm not sure, but they work. They
They
help.
work.
But,
They
but
totally
the very
work.
first one, she's always like, when right before but the first step is to find your calm. Now I know that irritates a lot of people to hear that. Like, how am I going to be calm when I have this crazy kid that keeps leaving that same sock downstairs when I told him to take to their room, right? Right? And so,
Like I'm
so
the maid.
but find your calm has more to do with you learning now how to be a better influence. How you learn how to be a kind of a peaceful presence that the other person can draw from so that you can get peaceful reactions from them. So it's worth searching for finding. Okay. And there's lots of ways to go about doing that. I'm gonna break all that down because that'll take forever. But find your calm is step one. Step two is understand the real truth about what's going on. Now, the real truth for everybody right now, if you want to blame COVID for everything, you legitimately, for the most part, can, right? I'm real angry right now. And instead of telling the other person I'm angry at you, just say, you know what? There's excess of anger available because COVID has driven me crazy, right? So if you understand the real truth, you're at least acknowledging that the amount of fury that you have may have a little bit to do with you're already being set to be frustrated, agitated. Okay.
Right.
So understand the real truth, react according to your truest intentions. Now, this is extremely difficult to do because sometimes we are not actually very aware of what our truest intentions are. When we get upset, we just think, "Oh, we're upset. Oh, you're upset, so I'm upset, so you're gonna pay now. So this is what's gonna happen. Now so now I'm taking your video game away. You didn't clean your room, taking the video game, right? So, but if you're reacting according to your truest intentions, then your truest intention is for whatever this upsetting stimuli is, that you get less of that. Okay. And that you don't have to punish in order to get that. But react according to your truest intention. I can talk about that all day. Check out the website. Like I said, check out the YouTube. And then step 4 is what I call my 3 R's. I like to call them the fur, my boots with the fur. Find real truth, understand, find your calm, understand real truth, react according to your truest intention. And then my 3 R's are recognize the small step improvements. So when you make an improvement interaction, Notice that. When they make a small step improvement in interaction, recognize that, reinforce it highly, because we want to start grabbing a hold of the things that we like and putting more energy into those instead of putting so much energy into the things that we don't like. So a lot of times we're not being, if we thought logically, we would know, okay, the thing that we put most energy into is going to be the thing that rules, that we get, gets more, we get more of. So we don't think that, oh no, I don't want to be fighting right now. I'm yelling. I'm not trying to put energy into yelling and anger and all that kind of stuff. I want to put energy into peace, because what I truly want is peace in my home, right? But when you recognize that you're making some of those changes, you yell a little less, they cry a little less, whatever, right? Then reinforce it highly, and then you're repeating the four steps over and over and over again. You're just always vacillating through. And if you work those, it's like the ingredients to a good cake, right? If you work all four of, or you put all four of them in there, you end up with a good tasting cake that's not flat, ugly, all those things, not nasty, right? But if you don't put in all those ingredients and you're missing one, then you're likely to have a very ugly cake or a very nasty cake. So just
Listen,
remember that we all want to have that good cake in life, which is our.
okay, I want you to make sure that you visit the Lafaya Way. Well, it's not the, but lafayaway.com. Because what she did right now is she went very quickly. And the only reason that I grimace or give her a look is because what she's not doing here is when she helps you to restate something. Because as she said, we're all crazy. We've already determined this. We have all lost our minds. But the things that she's speaking about and the things that she's sharing are not simply for the children. Because, she said, you might take the anger out on, she says, find truly what you are upset about. You might take the anger out on your spouse or your beloved, whomever it could be. It could be the grandmother, it could be the child, because now we're multi-generational and all kinds of things. It is not the fact that it doesn't work. It is the fact that if you work it, it works. And with all the other out of body experience and stimuli that we have coming at us from COVID, when I grimace, it's because I have to kick in my brain, oh God, I don't want to kill you. I don't even hate you. I'm being massaged from something else and taking it out on you. I'm very handsy. So if you saw all that brain stuff going on, because that's what you're going to experience too. Should you choose to rewire your brain, because this is truly what it is, making sure that the words that we're choosing to use to engage with the people around us now, using her core four, using her four core, helps you better engage. I mean, I'm just going to leave it at that, because it's not all about, it is about communication, but it's the engagement of the communication. You can't even engage to communicate if you can't get your mind right. You know how your mama say, get your mind right? You got to
Now,
get your mind right.
it really does get down to reacting in alignment with who you truly want to be, who you truly want to see yourself as. If you were in a calm moment and someone were to ask you the question, is this the way that you want to be? You know that you're being true to that no matter what's going on. And when you do that, you're going to be a happier, healthier
Mhm.
person. And so, and that's what the LaFaya Way promotes. It's healing the world one relationship at a time. If you can relate to this person and relate to that person and the next person in the proper and most appropriate way, then love will flow. And then it'll just become a worldwide pandemic of peace and love. Well, okay, so we can't call it a pandemic. What is that called? A good demic? Whatever. Of peace and love. And whatever it is, it just be, we have wonderfulness going around our town. Now, I would like to invite everyone out there who's listening, or if you know a parent who could use support, especially in a non-judgmental community where they're suffering from isolation and some depression and feeling like they're kind of in it alone and people don't understand them. I offer the perfect community to help you to feel supported, to help you feel safe, to help you to feel like there are other people out there who actually understand you, and for people who have the answers, who have answers and tangible ways that you can go about dealing with whatever issue it is you're dealing with in your home. And so please visit lafayaway.com today to learn more about my various programs. Look me up on Facebook. Look up Lafaya Way on Facebook. You can do the Lafaya Way or the Lafaya Way groups, and you can find our private group community that way. You do have to answer a couple of questions because I want to make sure we keep our community safe. And then we also have coming up our PEP party. This is free of charge. It's in here. It's a place for people to be able to come in, have a good time, really be able to kind of laugh and talk about some of those things that we deal with as parents, and really and give good advice as well as get some good advice. Kind of
And PEP
mastermind
stands for Parents Empowering Parents.
parents.
So
Yes.
just so that you know, it's not we say Parents Empowering Parents, no judgment. So if you're like me, bringing your cocktail to the party, you're in the right place.
Okay. Now, if you bring a cocktail, that's for our nighttime.
Yeah, the party. The
But
party.
that's for
The
Q&A.
pet
So
party.
we have our Q&As, which are also free of charge. They're 6 o'clock at night, every other Friday. We have one coming this Friday, April 2nd. You can check out lafayaway.com events. Click the events tab, and you can find our Q&As, which are the free registration, and our PEP party. Free registration PEP parties on April 24th. That's a Saturday at 9 a.m. So come join us. You will not regret it. You will leave there having learned something. So I'm so excited to have had this time with you, Christina. Thank you so much. I know that you have a game to get to. And for
Yes.
all of you out there that have joined us today, I'm hoping that you become future Lafaya Wayers. So come learn more about what it is that I'm doing. Because if you want to take that train to Happy Town, the Lafaya Way is your way. All
Right
right.
now, we should have that song. Won't you take me to Happy Town? That's how it should
Yes.
play us out.
But yeah, we'll see you guys again. We'll be doing this live. Actually, we'll do it more often because we want people to get the word out there for people to get to know us. And until next time, stay you and make sure to stay true. Have a good night.
Yay. Bye.